Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading to Anytown.
Anytown.
Well, not a real place, of course, but Anytown's going to represent all those parish and town councils out there, the ones keeping our communities going.
I see.
And to help us navigate this world, we've got a 4-part blog series by insurance expert Kevin Millard, all about risk management for these councils.
Risk management, huh? Sounds a bit dry.
Oh, trust me, it's way more interesting than you might think.
All right. I'm intrigued.
You see, what really grabbed my attention about Millard's take is how he goes beyond just avoiding lawsuits.
Well, that's got to be important, right?
Oh, absolutely. But he digs deeper, He gets into how risk management is really about protecting the whole community and ensuring those crucial council services run smoothly.
So it's a bigger picture than just avoiding legal trouble.
Exactly. It's about keeping any town functioning and thriving.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Think of it this way. You're on the Anytown Council. Suddenly, you're responsible for everything. Well, almost. Playground safety, organizing the annual summer festival, making sure the town hall doesn't crumble. I mean, the list goes on.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and that's where risk management comes in.
So what's the secret sauce? How do they manage all that?
Well, Millard really hammers home the importance of documentation.
Documentation?
Yes.
Like paperwork?
Yep. It's not just about doing things, it's about proving you did them.
I guess that makes sense, especially if an insurance claim pops up.
Exactly. Without proper records, things can get really messy and expensive.
So no more stuffing those inspection reports in a random drawer.
Nope. Got to keep those files organized and accessible.
Good point.
And speaking of insurance, Millard highlights several types of coverage that are absolutely crucial for these councils.
Like what kind of insurance we're talking about here?
Well, there's public liability, employer's liability, hirer's indemnity.
Okay, it's a lot.
It is. And it's not just about protecting the council itself.
Right. It's got to be about the staff, volunteers, and the public, too.
You got it. It's
Right.
a whole ecosystem of responsibility.
I see.
You know what really caught my eye, though? Key person insurance.
Key person insurance. What's that all about?
It sounds a bit dramatic, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's particularly important for smaller councils, those that heavily rely on one or two individuals.
Okay. I can see how that could be a problem.
Imagine any town's clerk, the one who handles tons of vital tasks, suddenly gets sick.
Oh, yeah. That would be a nightmare.
Millard actually shares an example where one clerk was serving 5 councils.
5.
Wow. Can you imagine the chaos if that person is unable to work?
Total pandemonium.
That's where key person insurance steps in. It helps cover the cost of finding someone to fill those shoes and make sure those essential services don't grind to a halt.
So it's like an insurance policy for the council's MVP.
Exactly. Making sure any town keeps running smoothly.
That's pretty clever.
But how do councils even begin to tackle all these potential risks?
Yeah, it does seem a bit overwhelming.
Well, Millard lays out this really clear 5-step risk management process.
5 steps. Lay it on me.
First, you got to identify the hazards, then figure out who might be harmed, then evaluate the risks and take steps to reduce them, and of course, document everything.
Great. Got to have that paper trail.
Absolutely. And finally, you need to regularly review and update the whole process.
Why the updates?
Well, things change. New risks pop up all the time.
Oh, yeah, like think about COVID-19.
Exactly. That totally changed the risk landscape for everyone, councils included.
True things we never even considered before are now top of mind.
So we've got this big picture understanding of why risk management is crucial.
It's about keeping everyone safe and making sure any town runs smoothly.
Now let's get into some specific areas where things can get a bit tricky.
Sounds good. Ready to dive deeper.
Millard's second blog post zeroes in on public liability.
Public liability.
This is where it gets real, folks. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
We've spent some time talking about any town's public spaces and that public liability insurance.
Right. Making sure the council's covered if someone trips over a crack in the sidewalk or something.
Exactly, but what about the people working behind the scenes to keep any town running? Those council employees and volunteers.
Oh, yeah, they face risks too, right?
Absolutely, and in his third blog post, Millard really gets into those risks and responsibilities.
And it starts with officials' indemnity insurance.
You got it.
Okay, that name's a bit of a mouthful.
It is a bit formal.
So who does it actually protect?
Well, it's there to protect the council members themselves.
Really? I always thought those were volunteer positions.
A lot of them are, but they can still be held personally liable for decisions they make, in their official capacity.
Oh, so if a council member votes for something, it goes wrong.
Exactly. They could be held personally responsible.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
Millard even mentions a case where a council accidentally sold the same burial plot twice.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine?
That's a PR nightmare.
And a legal one, too. But officials' indemnity insurance was there to protect both the council and that individual council member.
So it's like a safety net for those folks who are serving their community.
Exactly, allowing them to make decisions without fearing financial ruin if something backfires.
Makes sense, but what about the actual employees? The ones doing the day-to-day work for the council?
That's where employers' liability insurance comes in.
Employers' liability. So that's different from public liability.
No. Yep, completely different.
Okay, so what's the distinction?
Public liability covers the council if someone from the public gets hurt or their property's damaged.
Right, right.
Employer's liability is specifically for when an employee, a volunteer, or anyone working under the council's direction gets hurt or sick because of their work.
Ah, okay, so it's about who's involved and how they're connected to the council.
Precisely.
So like that volunteer who tripped over the cable at the Anytown Festival.
Exactly. That's a classic employer's liability situation.
And if Anytown didn't properly secure those cables or provide adequate safety training.
That's when the insurance would kick in to help cover the costs.
So it's about making sure the council can fulfill its financial obligations if they're found responsible for an employee's injury.
Precisely. And Millard really emphasizes that this is separate from public liability.
Right, right. One's for the public, one's for employees.
It's not about providing coverage for the employees themselves.
It's about ensuring the council can handle the financial responsibility.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense. But didn't we talk about key person insurance earlier?
We did.
And Millard brings it up again in this post about employee liability.
He does. Why do you think that is?
Well, key person insurance protects the council if a vital person like that town clerk can't work.
Right.
But couldn't that also affect employee liability?
In what way?
Like, what if any town's head of maintenance, the one responsible for playground inspections, gets sick?
Okay.
The council would have to hire someone temporarily or pile more work on other employees.
And that could lead to more accidents, right?
Exactly. People get overworked, stressed, maybe they cut corners.
And key person insurance can help cover the costs of preventing those situations.
Ah, so it's like a ripple effect. Losing a key person can impact the whole council and make employee-related incidents more likely.
It's all connected.
Makes you realize how important every role is.
But sometimes those risks come from within.
Oh, you mean like employee dishonesty?
Oh, exactly. It's not a fun topic, but it's a reality councils have to face.
And Millard doesn't shy away from it. He even talks about fidelity guarantee insurance.
Fidelity guarantee, that's a new one.
Yeah, this one protects councils from financial losses caused by their own employees.
So we're talking about things like embezzlement or fraud.
Exactly. Someone cooking the books or a council member misusing funds.
Wow, that's scary.
It is. But Millard points out that these types of incidents are less common these days.
Thank goodness.
Right? Tighter financial controls and all. But the risk is still there, especially when you're dealing with large sums of money.
So fidelity guarantee is like a financial safety net.
Exactly. Protecting the council from those they trust.
But how can councils even begin to manage this kind of risk?
It's tough, right?
It does seem impossible to predict.
Well, Millard suggests some practical steps, like requiring dual signatures for big transactions.
Oh, that makes sense.
And conducting regular financial risk assessments and background checks on employees.
So it's about being proactive rather than reactive.
And creating a culture of transparency and accountability.
And I bet documentation plays a role here too.
Absolutely. Got to have clear financial records, detailed policies, and procedures.
Makes it easier to spot any irregularities.
Exactly. And it can be crucial if an investigation ever happens.
We're seeing a theme here, aren't we?
What's that?
No matter what type of risk we're talking about, documentation is key.
It's not just about paperwork. It's about protection.
Protecting the council, its employees, and the community.
You got it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground when it comes to employee-related risks.
Officials' indemnity, employers' liability, key person, insurance fidelity guarantee.
It's a lot to keep track of.
But it's clear that managing these risks is crucial for any council that wants to be successful and responsible.
Absolutely, but there's one more piece of the puzzle, one that's becoming increasingly important.
What's that?
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. For a town council.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, I'm listening.
We've talked about playgrounds and town halls and all sorts of physical risks in any town.
Right, right. Slips and falls and all that.
But what about the digital world?
The digital world. You mean like websites and social media?
Well, yeah, that too, but I'm thinking more about the council's computer systems, all that data they store.
Oh, right. Resident information, financial records, all that sensitive stuff.
Exactly. And Millard really hits on this in his final blog post.
He says councils need to be worried about cybersecurity.
It's not just big corporations anymore.
I guess it makes sense everyone's online these days.
And councils might be even more vulnerable.
Really? Why is that?
Well, they may not have the same resources to invest in, top-notch security systems.
So they're an easier target.
Potentially.
Okay, so let's say any town gets hit with a cyber attack.
What's that look like?
It could be a ransomware attack.
Ransomware.
Yeah. Hackers lock up the council's computer systems and demand money to unlock them.
So any town can't access any of their files.
Nope. Everything's encrypted, resident contact info, financial records, building permits.
Wow, that would bring everything to a standstill.
Essential services could be disrupted, maybe even emergency services.
And the hackers could threaten to release that data publicly.
It's like a digital hostage situation.
So what can councils do?
Well, that's where cybersecurity insurance comes in.
Cybersecurity insurance.
It helps councils recover from those attacks, financially and reputationally.
So it covers things like data recovery system, repairs legal fees.
Even crisis communication to manage the PR nightmare.
This is starting to sound like a must-have for any council.
It's becoming increasingly important.
But insurance is just one part of the equation, right?
Absolutely. Got to be proactive, too.
So what can councils do to protect themselves?
Millard emphasizes strong cybersecurity practices, like locking your doors and windows.
Doesn't guarantee you won't get robbed.
But it makes it a lot harder.
So things like updating software, patching vulnerabilities.
And using multi-factor authentication.
Makes it harder for those hackers to get in.
Exactly. But there's also the human element.
Oh, right. People clicking on phishing emails, downloading malware.
That's a big one.
So employee training is crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to educate staff and council members about cybersecurity best practices.
Things like recognizing phishing emails, using strong passwords, being careful what they click on.
It's all about creating a culture of security awareness.
Not just relying on technology.
And of course, documentation plays a role.
Here we go again.
Got to document those cybersecurity policies, procedures, training materials, incident response plan.
So if something does happen,
They were prepared.
and they can show the insurance company they took reasonable steps to protect themselves.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored the world of parish and town council risk management.
From playgrounds to cyber attacks.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And we've learned that risk management is about so much more than just avoiding lawsuits.
It's about protecting people, ensuring services run smoothly, and creating stronger communities.
And remember, documentation is key.
It's not just paperwork, it's peace of mind.
Now think about your own community. What risks is your local council facing?
Are there areas where they could improve their risk management practices?
These are important questions to consider.
And remember, you have a voice. Reach out to your council, share your concerns, get involved.
Together, we can create safer, more resilient communities.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious.